Awesome. So yeah, find a seat that works for you today. We're going to spend some time opening the upper chest and shoulders. We'll still touch on a few different areas of the body, but let's begin with the breath. So as you sit, take a moment to just ground down, start to feel the parts of the body connected to the earth, and perhaps let the eyes start to close as well if that feels comfortable to you. And allow the hands to rest, perhaps on the lap. And start with a nice full breath in through your nose and maybe sigh it out of your mouth. Let's repeat that deep breath in and let it go. One more time, nice full breath. And spend the next few breaths breathing in and out of the nose. You might take a moment to pause for a few seconds at the top of your breath. And then start to exhale slowly. Perhaps pause for a couple seconds at the bottom of your exhale. And then take another breath in through the nose. Again, option to hold the breath at the top for just a few seconds. And then exhale completely. Hold a couple seconds at the bottom of your breath. And then take another breath in through the nose. I'm just going to continue like that for a few cycles of breath. Using that controlled pause at the top and bottom of each breath, in and out. And as you pause and breathe here, see if you can feel your rib cage expanding more horizontally. We often tend to breathe a little more shallow into the upper chest. If that's you, that's okay. But notice if you can expand the ribs more wide than tall. Let's take one more full breath. Now, as you complete your breath out, start to lower the chin down to your chest. And just take a moment here to feel that opening at the back of the neck. And then add your half neck circles. So slowly rock your ear toward one shoulder. And you can take your time coming back to the chest and over to the other side. And take your time moving from one side to the other. And some of you might be ready to open up that movement to a full circle. You might think about drawing a circle with the tip of your nose here. Your eyes might remain closed as you focus on just each muscle in the neck. Go ahead and spin the opposite direction. Now let's take a couple breaths with the ear to the left side. You can float the right hand by your hip here. Maybe just start with some little movements, flicking the wrist up and down. You tilt the head away from that floating hand, just finding that space on the top side of the neck here. A couple options you might try on are creating a fist with a thumb on the inside and then fingers wrapped around the thumbs, and then draw some circles. And then you can do the opposite. So fingers in and then thumb wraps around, and then take those circles with the wrist. And perhaps you open the palm and start to rotate from the upper arm here, internally and externally. And you're welcome to pause and breathe into it if it feels good. Maybe you add some movement of your head as well. You might choose to keep going with this. You also have the option to take the left hand behind your back and grab the opposite forearm, anywhere from the elbow or down toward the wrist. And you're going to slide the right shoulder blade down the back. Find this lifting and lengthening in the chest and spine. And then tilt the head away from the right side. Maybe take some little movements of the chin. Wiggle your jaw. And keep going with those nice, expansive breaths. Notice if the shoulders are rounding forward, do your best to kind of peel them open nice and wide. And just take one more breath here. Maybe see how it feels to look down toward the left hip. And as you finish that breath, go ahead and release. Chin can set back to the chest, hands to the body. And then slowly take your ear to the opposite shoulder. Other hand can float by your side. And start flicking the wrist in different directions. Notice how this side feels. If you make those fists, starting with the thumb on the inside and then fingers wrapping around your thumb, and then taking some circles. And then you can make a fist with the fingers in and the thumb on the outside. Maybe you expand the palm and start to rotate from the upper arm. Notice if you're holding the breath, keep breathing here, slow and steady. In and out of the nose if you can. You might be adding the movement of your head if you wish. And one more option is take the other hand behind your back. You're going to grab the opposite forearm. So wherever is accessible to you. Notice if you can slide the shoulder blades down, peel the collarbones open wide, and then tilt the head away from the left side. Maybe add some tiny movements with the chin and jaw. A couple more slow, deep breaths. And then one more breath, perhaps with the gaze down toward the ground on the right side. And as you finish that exhale, release hands to the body, chin to chest. We're going to slowly trace the gaze up as you breathe in. And then lower the chin as you exhale. Once again, deep breath in as you look up. And exhale, chin to chest. This time as you inhale, look forward. We're going to reach the arms all the way up. Get really tall here. Find that length on the sides of the body. Take another inhale, actively lengthen, and then exhale, twist to your left. So your hands might be on the inner thigh closest to you, or maybe the outer thigh you're turning toward. Fingertips might be grazing the earth here. But you're doing your best to stack your spine, shoulders over hips, and ears in line with shoulders. Perhaps you look toward the back shoulder, taking a few more of those nice expansive breaths, feeling the ribs open in all directions. And on the next inhale, reach up, face forward, and then go ahead and rotate the opposite way. And again, your hand might be on the earth in front of you or on the inner thigh or the outer thigh you're turning toward. Notice if you can lift the heart and draw the shoulder blades down and back. Or perhaps peek toward the back shoulder, even if it's just with your eye. On the next breath in, slowly reach up, face forward, and then we'll tilt over to the left and fold. So as you press that bottom hand down, actively reach and expand the right side body. Notice if you can breathe into the entire rib cage here, even the side that's compressed. And you might choose to bring the top hand to the back of the skull. As you inhale, find a little rotation up toward the sky. And then exhale, spin down toward the ground as you reach through the tip of the elbow. Keep it going with your breath. Inhale to open. Exhale, twist. One more time. As you breathe in, you're going to rock through center and shift all the way to the opposite side. Take a moment to settle here. So soften that bottom shoulder away from your ear. Actively reach through the top fingers. Use your breath. Find space between the ribs. The softening in the shoulders. Top hand can cradle the back of the skull. And as you breathe in, rotate up toward the sky. And as you exhale, twist to the earth. Twice more with your breath. Last round. This time as you breathe in, we're taking it all the way over to the other side. And just keep it moving. You can take the arms up and overhead like this. Another option for you is to sweep the arms across the horizon, really reach through the fingertips, and then peel the chest open once you arrive. So keep going, whichever option you prefer. Couple more rounds. One more each side. Nice, last one. Then option to find a forward fold here. So perhaps fingertips are on the earth. You've got blocks or something to prop you up here. You might bring a block out in front of you and let the hands rest on the block. You can relax your head and neck and start to fold forward here. Some of you might have forearms on the block or on the earth. And take a few deep breaths. Really feel the back of the lungs expand here. Allow the belly to soften as you breathe out. Once more, deep breath. As you inhale, slowly press yourself back up to a seat. Take a moment to pause for your exhale. And then let's come on to our hands and knees. So once you shift to all fours, take the hands, fingers wide, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. You can start to add some movement here. There's no right or wrong. You're welcome to get curious and just see what your body craves in this moment. Perhaps that's drawing semicircles with the hips, or dropping the hips to the back corners of your mat. Some of you might curl your toes under as the hips sink back. It can feel good. Add a little wagging of your tail while you're back there, letting the head and heart to melt down towards your earth. And perhaps you add a little movement forward and back. Feel free to move at your pace. Just a couple more breaths to play here. Nice. And then let's take a moment to get into our wrists. So spinning the thumbs to the top of the mat, fingers to either side. We're going to shift our weight from left to right. And hands are at least shoulder wide or even a little closer for this one. Head can relax completely. You might notice how it feels to allow the chest to melt down to the ground and the shoulder blades to come together. You can also add some circles of your shoulders around the base of the wrists here. You can choose how large or small those circles are. If you're circling, turn the opposite way. And you keep going with either of those, or pause and turn the fingers in toward you. Thumbs might shift the outer edges of your mat. And if this feels like a lot, feel free to undo, but if you want more, press the hands down and shift the hips back slightly. You can hold and breathe here or start to add some movement in the spine, perhaps some cat and cow. You might notice how it feels to even press the tops of the feet down as you dome the upper back and tuck the chin. Let's take one more breath. Slowly release one hand at a time, maybe shake it off. And we got one more with the wrists here, palms facing up, back of the wrist down. So notice if the hand is really close to you, you might not be feeling a lot of the stretch. If it's really far out in front of you, it might feel like too much. So about under the shoulder is usually good here. And you can play with your opening and closing of the fingers. Notice how that might change the feelings internally. And then swap sides. Maybe tune in, noticing the difference between left and right. And we're going to release that and find your way to kneeling. Once you come onto your knees, you can stay high on the knees here if that feels good. You might choose to tuck your toes and sink the hips toward your heels. That feels like a lot on the knees. You can stuff a pillow or a block or two between the hips and heels here. And you can also come to the tops of the feet. So choose what works for you. We're going to interlace the palms and press the palms away from you. So notice here if you can tuck the chin and protract the shoulder blades. So shoulder blades coming apart, almost like you're pulling the low belly in toward you and finding that space at the upper back. If the shoulders are up by the ears, see if you can soften them away from the ears and keep length on the sides of your neck. This time you're going to lift the arms up as you breathe in and look forward. And then we're going to rock over to one side. So we're not crunching down to one side, but keeping length on both sides of the body as you shift over. And then slowly rewind through center with your breath in and rock over to the other side. Do that just once more each side. Inhale through center. And then exhale, tilt. One more time. Inhale, center. Exhale, arc. This time, inhale through center. You can come high up onto the knees, release the hands, perhaps untuck the toes, and then we'll cactus the arms, open the chest. Once again, inhale, reach up. Exhale, feel that space in the upper chest, activating the muscles at your back. Feel free to repeat that, or this time you can clasp the hands behind the back. If you have a strap or something to extend your reach here, you're welcome to use it. Otherwise, hands are interlaced. You can also hold forearms. Drive the knuckles down and find that peeling open of the front of the shoulders away from one another. You can continue to look forward here, but notice if you can squeeze the shoulder blades in and slide them down away from the ears. If you're looking for more sensation, notice if you can bring the palms together, but feel as though you're trying to rip the hands apart. You can stay upright here. Some of you might float the chin a little bit. Back of the neck stays long. And another layer you can play with here is folding at the hips and lifting the arms up and away from the body. Crown of the head might come down toward the ground, but let's not dump a lot of weight on the head here. And if you are in the bind, hold and breathe for a couple more breaths as long as it's working for you. And as you're ready to release, you're going to slowly rewind the same way you came in. You can undo the hands if they're clasped. And if it's comfortable to do so, take a moment to sit back on the heels, maybe palms face up. Perhaps you close your eyes for just a couple of breaths. Use this opportunity to just tune inward. Notice any tingling sensation. Notice any changes so far in your practice. And then we're going to shift into child's pose. So option one, knees stay together. Hands are by your sides. Palms can face the sky. Allow the front of the shoulders to soften to the earth here. Maybe the head comes down toward the ground, or again, blocks are useful here. Perhaps your head is supported by a block. And find those nice deep breaths. And many of you know the alternative is extended child's pose, knees together, knees wide rather, big toes together, arms reaching to the top of the mat, and head and heart coming down toward the earth. Take 3 to 5 breaths, whichever shape you choose. It might feel good to add a little motion from side to side. So not a big movement. Maybe it's just the forehead rocking from side to side, massaging the space between the brows. Maybe it's adding a little movement in the hips, shifting your weight from one shin to the other. Another deep breath. And if you're not already in extended child's pose, perhaps you reach the arms out in front of you. You can walk the fingertips as far away as you can. Let the elbows lift off the earth. And as you exhale, keep the fingertips on the ground. Dig your claws into the earth as you energetically pull hands in toward you without moving. Again, inhale, actively lengthen fingertips crawling away from the body. And as you exhale, press the hands down into the ground. One more time, inhale, reach. Exhale, ground. This time you can turn the palms up to the sky. Let the forearms press heavier into the earth. Notice if you can open the thumbs to the outer edges of the mat. And without moving, we're finding a dual sensation here, reaching the fingertips away from you and trying to pull the elbows in toward you. Couple breaths. Some of you might choose to bend the elbows and bring the hands together, maybe just the tips of the fingers and thumbs to the back of your neck. For more sensation, you might walk the elbows a little farther from the knees and bring them in toward the ears. And then start to press down into the triceps. Allow the shoulder blades to spread apart and the armpits to hollow away from the earth. Gently release and press yourself back through to all fours. Knees under the hips. And we'll start with the left leg straight back, toes on the earth. Press through the heel and add some movement toward the toes a few times if you like. And we're going to float the leg. Maybe you swirl your ankle or point and flex. And then notice if you can keep that leg active. So as if you're trying to stomp the wall behind you, flex the toes, press the ground away. Stay strong in the upper body like a push-up. And then reach the opposite arm forward. Notice how long you can get here as you lengthen your breath. And perhaps you hold and breathe, or as you exhale, slowly move here and draw the elbow and knee underneath you as you dome the upper back. Again, inhale, reach it long. Exhale, option to curl. Doing your best to move slow and controlled here. Keep going. One more time. This time, inhale, extend. We're going to lower just the hand. Take the floating toes to the opposite side of the mat and then peek over your shoulder toward the back foot. Press down with the hands. And without moving, use your breath to expand the ribs in all 360 degrees. And pretend as though you're trying to drag the right hand toward the back of the mat here. It's not moving, but feel those activation of the side muscles, abdominals. Couple breaths. Make your way back to center. Perhaps just shake it out. Cat, cow, tail wags, whatever feels good. And then step the other leg straight back, toes on the ground to start. Drive the heel to the back. Find that nice stretch at the calf. Maybe shift a few times towards your toes. When you're ready, we're going to float the leg to about hip height. We add some rotation or pointing and flexing of the ankle. And then notice if your chest is dropping down here. See if you press the earth away. Float the chest a little higher. Activate the back floating leg. And then opposite arm's going to reach forward as you breathe in. Long breath, long body here. And then moving slow, option to tap elbow and knee underneath you, or they can just get close. They don't have to touch. Inhale, reach it long. Exhale, slowly curl. Twice more with your breath. Last one. Notice as you exhale, if you can create a cat shape here with the spine. We're going to reach it long just once and then lower the hand. Take the floating toes to the opposite side of your mat. Look over the shoulder toward the back foot and do your best to stack your heels directly over the toes. Press into the hands. Breathe into the ribs. And energetically drag the left hand to the back edge of the mat. And gently release back to all fours. Shake it out. I'm going to take a round of thread the needle here. So starting with the left, let's go right hand to the sky. You're going to reach the right arm up, maybe circle the wrist a few times. As you exhale, you're going to thread the arm underneath you. So some of you might come forearm to the ground. Some of you might slide all the way down to the shoulder. If you can, have that bottom palm facing up. And then maybe tent the top fingers by your face and use that connection to press the earth away and rotate your chest away from the ground. Notice if you can press that bottom forearm down and without moving, try to drag the arm underneath your body. Feel that opening at the back of the shoulder blade. Perhaps you stay here or walk the top fingers to the top edge of the mat. You can also open the top arm up toward the sky. Some of you might take a half bind, wrapping it behind the back. You've got the bind, you're peeling the front of the top shoulder away from the earth. You're doing your best to breathe in this position. Nice full belly breaths. Just one more. And then gently release. Top hand's going to ground by the face. You can unravel the same way you came in. Reach the arm up toward the sky. Then come back to earth. Go ahead and shake it out. Do what you need to do. Then we'll take it to the opposite side. So sweep the other arm high. Option for those wrist circles. And as you exhale, you're going to thread the arm through. Again, option of put the forearm on the earth or come all the way down to the shoulder and cheek. You might tent the opposite fingers by your face and use that to twist away from the ground. Get heavy on that bottom forearm. And without moving, find that sensation of trying to pull the bottom arm underneath your body. Nice full breath. Maybe the top arm walks to the top of the mat. Perhaps you open up toward the sky. Or add your half bind, wrapping it behind the back. Notice if you could open the top shoulder even further away from the ground. Take one or two more deep belly breaths. Gently release with an exhale. Unwind, sending the bottom arm high to the sky. And then back to all fours. And then take your time. We're going to press back to downward facing dog. So hips go high. Got a few breaths in down dog to move however you need. Some options you might try on are lifting the heels as high as you can, maybe straightening the legs, pressing into the hands. And then you can bend the knees a lot. And repeat that, lifting and lowering the hips. Maybe launching forward to a plank position and back to down dog a couple of times. And you can also add a little twist here, bending one knee, rotating the chest. Couple more full breaths. And then find some stillness. Notice if you can lift your tailbone. Feel free to keep the knees bent, but encourage the heels down toward the ground. Take a deep breath in and hold as you exhale. Next inhale, look forward. Walk the feet toward your hands and find a forward fold near the top of the mat. So knees can be bent a lot here. Maybe you're resting the forearms above the knees and hands together in prayer. If you want to fold a little more deeply, go ahead and dangle the upper body. Maybe cross the elbows. Add a little sway. Perhaps nod the head. Yes or no. And then you can release the arms, stay in a forward fold, and if you've got a block handy, you might plant it underneath your face. So let's start right hand on the block, right knee bent, and then you're gonna peel the top arm open here. Do your best to keep a nice flat back from head to tail, and maybe gaze toward the top fingers. Some of you might bring that top hand to the base of the spine here, and as you press the hand lightly on the body, you're gonna rotate the chest open even more. Another breath. And as you exhale, gently release. Let's switch sides. Bring that hand down, bend the knee generously, and then sweep the opposite arm up. Find that space across the chest. And gaze wherever feels best for your neck. Maybe the top hand plants on the low back toward the tailbone. And take one more inhale here, opening the chest wide. And as you exhale, go ahead and release. You can ditch the block if you were using one and uncurl your way all the way to standing. And as you make your way to the top, you can add your shoulder circles. Move it both ways. We'll take a nice deep breath in, reach both arms high. And exhale, hands toward the heart. Let's add a forward fold. Inhale, reach up. And exhale, hinge at the hips. Find your half lift as you breathe in. Hands might be on the shins. You know I'm a fan of the hands high on the thighs. And with the hands pressing into the legs, hug the elbows into the body. Feel as though you're doing a little bit of up dog in the chest. Find that opening in the front of the heart. Take one more breath here. And then exhale, fold forward. Inhale back to standing, ground through the feet, reach through the fingers. Exhale, hands to heart center. We'll add a kneeling lunge, deep breath in. Exhale, fold. Inhale to your half lift, flat back. And then exhale, bring the hands down, set the left foot back, and bring that knee down. You can begin with the hands on the front thigh, and if you want more stability, go ahead and widen your base. Option to hold and breathe here, or same side as that back leg. Sweep the arm high to the sky. Option to bring the hand to the back of the head. Maybe you just tilt toward the front leg, or bring the bottom hand to the inside of the thigh. Use that connection to rotate the chest slightly up and away from the front leg. Couple breaths here. Notice if you can press into the feet, find a little bit of lift in the chest. And as you inhale, we're going to reach both arms up. And then exhale, cactus the arms, open the chest. Once again, inhale, reach high. Exhale, elbows wide. Now, option to repeat that. If you've got a block, I suggest you bring it into play here. We're going to play with half camel pose. So same side as the back leg. Plant a block on a higher setting on the outside of that back ankle. You're going to turn your fingers to point toward the toes. And as you press that hand down, if you don't have a block, you might tuck the back toes and come to the heel. But if you've got something to balance on here, go ahead and plant the hand. You're going to look toward the back hand to begin. Top hand can come to the back of the skull like we've been playing with. Then notice if you could lift the chest and start to rotate that top elbow open toward the sky. Couple breaths here. Half version of camel pose. If you're able to, notice how it feels to just subtly try to drag the back knee to the top of the mat. It's not going to move, but find that sensation and the activation of the glute and strengthening in the front of the hips. Just 1 or 2 more breaths. And if you are using a block, you can bring that block with you and release, come into the top of the mat. So perhaps hand on a block, turning toward the front leg. Arms can spread wide. You can also tuck the back toes and extend the back knee. Since we've been playing with that half bind, maybe you take the half bind behind the back with the top arm. This time palm faces away from the body. Find that opening in the upper chest. Just 1 more deep breath. As you exhale, release. You can come through all fours or right to down dog. Maybe keep the blocks near the top of the mat for easy access here. Tune into the body. Notice how one side feels. Notice the other. And then go ahead and look forward. Step the left foot forward, back knee down. Or whatever side you didn't do. Hands to the front thigh. Option is take the same hand as the back leg up by the ear. Maybe you bring the hand to the back of the head here. You can use the opposite hand to squeeze the inner knee and wrist together. Doing your best to rotate the chest up and away from the front thigh and simultaneously lean a little to the front leg. Couple breaths. On the inhale, you're going to release the arms high to the sky. And as you exhale, take the elbows wide, broad in the heart. Again, deep breath and reach up. Exhale, expand. So again, feel free to repeat this motion, or you can bring a block with you toward the back of that outer ankle. You can look down, place your hand on the block with the fingers pointing in the same direction as the toes. Take the top hand to the back of the head. And then notice here as you breathe in, if you can lift the heart and open that top armpit toward the sky. You're still pressing that bottom hand down and doing your best to lift the center of the chest. We're not moving, but find that sensation of trying to drag the back knee to the top of your mat. Squeezing the glute, opening the front of that hip. Taking 1 or 2 more breaths. And as you exhale, you can bring the block with you if you're using it across from the front foot. Ground the front hand and then turn toward the front thigh. Just straighten the back leg. Perhaps you take your half bind with the top arm. And notice if you can rotate the chest open. And take another full breath as you lengthen from head to toes. And then exhale, release back to down dog again. Might be through all fours or directly to downward facing dog. Nice full breath as you arrive. And on the inhale, let's lift the left leg up and back. Option is stack the hips here, so peel that top hip to stack on top of the bottom. Maybe the top leg stays straight, or perhaps you squeeze the heel in toward your butt. And as you breathe in, look forward. Step the foot between the hands and rise to warrior 2. So arms are going to float over the ankles. Notice if you can keep that front knee tracking over your second and third toe. We're softening the shoulders down the back, away from the ears. Let's straighten the front knee and reach the arms up. And on the exhale, return, warrior two. Do that again. Inhale, reach and extend. And then exhale, bend. Keep the legs here. Let's reverse the arms. Front arm reaches up and away from the front thigh. Little to no weight in that back hand. And that expansion between the ribs on all sides. And as you exhale, take extended side angle. Maybe the forearm comes to the front thigh. Top arm might reach up by your ear. You can also take the half bind here with the top arm, wrapping it behind you. If you're looking to fire things up even more, maybe the bottom arm floats by your face. Notice if you're holding your breath, keep breathing. And on the inhale, come back upright. You're going to straighten the front leg and then pivot the toes to turn in the same direction as the opposite toes. The toes pointing to the top, the long edge of the mat. Option to clasp the hands behind the back here and drive the knuckles down as you float the chest up. So again, you might stay upright, lifting the heart, looking forward. Maybe you float the chin ever so slightly, keeping the back of the neck nice and long. If you have the desire to fold forward here, you can hinge at the hips, soft bend in the knees, and then start to float the arms up and away from the low back. And as long as the bind feels good to you, hold and breathe here. Notice if the arms can lift up and away from the body a little further with each exhalation. When you're ready to release, slowly bring the hands toward the low back. Undo the grip, and then with the hands on the hips, start to rise with a flat back all the way to standing. Go ahead and pivot the toes to the top edge of the mat. We're going to cartwheel the arms down and then step back to a plank. Option to tap the knees here and then shift forward and lower all the way to the belly. We're going to stick with cobra this time. So hands remain by your chest. Squeeze the elbows in toward the side body and then start to lift the chest using the muscles of the back. Squeeze your cobra tail together, legs pressing down and in toward one another. Maybe challenge yourself. See how it feels to float the arms, the wrists, hands off the earth. And keep hugging the elbows in toward the side body. Another breath. And on the exhale, release back to downward facing dog. It's harder than it looks. Couple breaths. We're going to lift the opposite leg up toward the sky. Option to stack the hips here with the top leg straight or bending the top knee. As you inhale, look forward. Step the foot between the hands. You can help it get there. And then rise to warrior two. Take a moment to get your foundation here. Peek at that front foot and make sure you can see just a little bit of that front big toe. Actively reach the arms over your ankles. And then let's take 2 lunges with the front leg. Inhale to straighten. And exhale, bend. Once again, inhale, reach. Exhale, return, warrior two. Keep the legs here. Float the front arm away from the front thigh. Use your breath to find that 360-degree expansion in the rib cage. And as you exhale, take the arms toward the front forearm. Maybe rest on the front thigh. But notice I'm not collapsing into that bottom forearm. I'm pressing the forearm down and actively reaching the fingers apart. Maybe that top arm wraps behind you, finding that rotation in the upper chest. And last but not least, maybe the bottom arm floats here. Notice if you're holding your breath. Inhale all the way back upright. Go ahead and pivot the toes to the long edge of the mat and maybe shorten the stride slightly here. We're going to pivot the toes out and heels in. And then take a deep breath in. Reach up. And on the exhale, hands to heart and drop low into your squat. Notice here if you can open the knees wide, feel those glutes working. When you're ready, press into the feet, reach through the fingers, and then exhale, sink it low. One more time, inhale, reach up. This time, exhale, hold as you drop it low. Again, notice if you can use those knees to open the glutes, rather to open the knees wide. And then maybe you lift one heel off the earth and lower it. Other side, lift and lower. One more each way, stay with it. Last one. And then we're gonna burst open, star pose, take up space. Awesome, let's cartwheel the arms to the top of the mat. Step back to your plank. Option to use the knees or not as you lower to the belly. And perhaps you stay with cobra pose here, hands by your heart, elbows hugging into the body, and shoulder blades sliding down the back. As you breathe in, use those muscles all along the posterior chain to lift the chest. Press the toenails down and hug the inner thighs together. You're welcome to stay here. You can also play with a version of locust pose with the arms by your sides, palms facing the earth. Peel the front of the shoulders away from the ground. Maybe the legs float here too. Find the sensation of trying to squeeze the pinky fingers to touch behind the back. Of course, they're not getting there, but just energetically. One more breath, lift a little higher. And this time as you exhale, take a moment on the belly. Maybe stack the palms, rest the forehead on the back of the hands. Might feel good to wiggle the hips a little from side to side. Or even bend the knees and add a little windshield wiper action with the legs. You can also choose just to be still and take a few deep belly breaths. And just feel the body soften as you breathe out, finding an even deeper relaxation as you exhale. And you can slowly press yourself back upright. We're going to sweep the legs around in front. Come to a seat on your bum. So just an option here. If you've got blocks handy, we're going to do a round of bridge. You're welcome to take supported bridge with a block at the back of the hips. So either way, you're going to come onto your back. Feet are about hip wide, knees to the sky. You might have hands by your side here. And then as you're ready, you're going to press into the feet, lift the hips, activate the glutes. And you might just hold and breathe here. If you want to take your block and slide it underneath your sacrum, you can start to lower the hips onto the block. And you might start on a lower setting, but if it feels like you want more of a back bend, you can go higher. Just be mindful here that you feel fully supported. And take a couple of breaths, whether you're in active bridge or the supported version. And listen to your body. If you're doing the active version, if you need to release at any time, feel free to do so. If you're in the supported or active version, optional, lift one heel up toward the sky. Maybe bend and extend that leg a few times, or point and flex the foot, rotate the ankle. And then you can lower that leg, take a moment at center, then take it to the opposite side. So lifting the heel, bending and extending, swirling and swirling. And then, of course, if you are doing the active version, you're going to want to put your hips down first, but option to take both legs up the wall here. If you happen to be by a wall, you're welcome to rest the legs on the wall. Otherwise, feel free to just float. Take a few deep breaths. Notice if you can slow down your exhales. Perhaps make the exhales twice as long as the breath in. And when you're ready to release, you could start to bend at the knees. Slowly bring the feet back to earth if they aren't already. And if you want to stay in supported bridge a little longer, be my guest. You're ready to release, lift the hips, slide it out from underneath you, and take a moment to be fully grounded here. Perhaps the feet widen and the knees come together like a teepee. You might bring the hands down by your sides with the palms up. Some of you might like to rest a hand on the heart and the other on the belly. You're invited to close your eyes once again and just tune back into those nice, expansive breaths. Go ahead and be here for 3 to 5 breaths. If you prefer to bring soles of the feet together and butterfly the knees open, you can play with that. Just start to feel the heaviness of the back of the body, the softening of the muscles around your face. And if either of these shapes feel good to you, feel free to remain just as you are. If you'd like to extend the legs out long for your final relaxation pose, go ahead. Feet might fall open away from one another. Maybe the hands stay resting on the body, or perhaps they open down by your sides. And wherever you are, take one more expansive breath. Maybe hold at the top of that breath for a few seconds. And then exhale completely. And take this opportunity to check back in with your mind, your breath, and your body. Notice any changes, any new or different sensations, or even a lack of sensation. Notice if there's anywhere else you can encourage a softening, a surrender, and just give yourself permission to completely let go. And go ahead and just soak up the stillness and the quiet for the next few moments. And I'll let you know when it's time. And if you have the means to stay as you are a little longer, you're encouraged to be here. If you need to move on with your day, you can start with a nice deep breath, some movements of the fingers, wrists, toes, and ankles. And maybe a full body stretch and an even deeper breath as you point the toes and reach overhead. An option to start to bend one knee and then the other. You might roll toward one side using your bicep as a pillow. You can pause for a moment here, keeping the eyes closed. And take your time to press yourself back upright. And we'll close with just one last breath all together. Notice if you can find that long spine once again. Go ahead and empty the air from the lungs completely. Then inhale deeply through the nose, maybe hands to the heart. And let it all go. Thank you all for continuing to share your time and energy with me. Until next time, thanks everyone.